Hey, beautiful divas. This is Shay, your love diva, with another episode of Love on Command with an amazing guest who has a wonderful story about her transformational journey in Diva University. So today I want to introduce the infamous Sarah. Sarah, please say your last name for me so I don't jack it up
No,
like I
wait,
did.
Dan.
Addendum?
Dan.
Dan Dan. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, welcome, Sarah. We hear the clapping sound. Sarah, welcome, baby. So it's been a while
Yeah.
since I've seen you.
Yes, absolutely. I think last June, for a full year. hmm
You know what is so crazy? Because, like, I just told you when we first started that it feels like just yesterday.
It does. It really does. The time went by so quickly. There was so much change that happened just within that time frame, but it really was amazing. So
Awesome. All right, so let's talk. Like,
absolutely.
what was the thing? What was that camel that straw that broke the camel's back that even brought you to the call that we had that allowed you to join into DV University?
So I was a stay-at-home mom for several years. I've been stalking TikTok. I've been watching a lot of your videos on TikTok, on Instagram, etc., watching your lives, just like a silent observer for most of the time, because I was just really trying to figure out, as a quick background, I grew up in a religious cult, and the rules around women and men and romantic relationships was very
Mhm.
rigid and very dysfunctional. And so,
Mm.
even though I did end up getting married to a nice guy at the same time, I couldn't get myself out of that good 15, 18 years of programming. And so there was so much dysfunctional attitudes and ideas that was deep inside of me. And I just didn't know how to get around that. And so I had read studies, I had read books on relationships, I read books on men. And one of the main issues really was that I had such a deep fear of men. Like I would even get my heart would stop palpitating if I had to talk to just a male cashier. I would just want to run and hide being around men. For me, because we were always raised, how I was taught within this institution was that women were not allowed to initiate conversation with men because we were lower. And so men could only talk to you if they wished for something. And you were not supposed to ask them for help. You were the helpers, you were the servers. And
Wow,
so,
really?
yes, yes. And so even like I remember even being an undergrad, I needed help with a chemistry problem and I just suffered. I'm like, I cannot talk to the professor. I cannot because he's a male. I can't do that. I can't go up to him and ask for that help. That's not like, so it was really, so I got out when I was 22, 23 was when I kind of got out, and then I went to grad school and I met my husband there, and I met him and I started dating him because he wasn't abusive. He was just like la 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 la, like a golden retriever. And so I was like, yeah, okay, wonderful. I love the golden retriever vibe. And
Yes.
so and we got together, but all of these like old gremlins just started roaring back up. Like when you're in a
Right.
relationship with people, it brings up your triggers. Like
And
relationships
what were you
are that
feeling at that
formation.
time before you joined? Like, what was going on in your marriage?
He works a lot, and so there's a lot of emotion, just natural emotional and physical distance. And I was lonely, and I was just so miserable. I just felt so miserable in my life. I felt so miserable in my marriage. I just hated myself. I was like, and I didn't even blame him or other people. I was like, this is all on me. Like I made all these bad choices and I'm doomed and I don't know what to do. And so, and
Wow.
even reading all of these books on marriage and relationships and how men think, and so, and it's still like I would get little pieces of helpful information here and there, but it wasn't. I'm like, okay, intuitively, I know this isn't the full picture. I know this isn't right. This isn't helping, and I'm
Yeah.
not sure what to do. And so then when I was on TikTok, and then I saw your videos, I was like, okay, that makes sense. Like what she's saying, this is very logical. This absolutely makes sense. I like this. So then I started following more, and then I was really praying about it. Oh my God, I need help. God, please just help me. And then I felt this voice like, just make the call. And then you happen to have like a discount at that time, and I was like, okay, yeah. Literally that day it came out, and I was like, okay, yeah, sure, okay, God, that's my okay, sure. And then that's when I went ahead and made the call and did that initial consultation.
Oh my gosh. Oh my, I remember how you looked. I
Yes,
remember that
yeah,
look in your eyes. It was like
mhm,
the sadness that was in your eyes
yeah.
when we first talked. So
Mhm.
talk to me about DV University and what you went through and the transformation that started to happen within you.
So at first, and honestly, I wasn't expecting much. I had low expectations for anything at that point because I'd already like read and studied so much. And honestly, part of me thought, oh, I'm sure a lot of this is going to be repetitive, but I'm sure I've read this somewhere else, right? But then but a lot of it was new. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is making sense. And also what's really amazing about Diva University as well is that there's the community of women are just phenomenal. And I think that was such a wise idea to put into place, was to have those accountability partners and to have these other women, because it's so easy when you're by yourself, especially because most people are not working on their traumas. Like you can't just go to your neighbor or
Right.
your family member and say, hey, I'm really working on this. Can you help me? They're usually the ones helping cause your trauma. Like they're usually
Right.
the ones like encouraging it or encouraging dysfunction. So
Right.
usually, so I actually kept it quiet that I was in the program because I'm like, I don't want to be side railed. I want to like, when I commit to something, I commit to 100%. And
Right.
so that was really wonderful. So like I did it day by day, like pounding through meditations and then everything, the journaling. And I'm like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it. And so, but then, so finally, so like the first like section of where like you're healing your love blocks, I went back and I repeated that a couple of times because I realized that again, forgiving other people was actually the easier part. It was still forgiving myself. So then I had to like go back and really work on that and do that more deeper work as well. And then like, so a big crux of it was really the transformation of my own self-worth and the transformation of how I viewed myself and essentially taking back my power. Because again, so much of it was this embedded in my mind that other people are in control of you. You are literally just in a state of trying to get people to either like you or fly under the radar so they won't harm you. And then at this point, it was like, no, I can be assertive. Because like we were always taught, you don't like, even growing up, we were taught how to talk in a certain way of our voices, not to seem too unfeminine or to be as a threat to a man. So we had like a certain register that we had to use our voice even. So we were talking. Yes. And so a lot of it as well. So that was actually another kind of block, was that when I was going through the process of the feminine energy, like, well, but I need to act in a very specific way, right? I have like very certain rules I need to follow for how to do this for femininity. And the coaches were like, no, that's not, no. Like, where you got to stop.
Right. Don't do that.
Don't do that. That's what the point is. I'm like, just give me a bullet points and I will follow it. They're like, that's it's just no. And so that was, so again, like transformation away from that very rules based, that's like robotic, this is how you act, into that very, this is, I'm empowered and I can have a voice for myself and I can protect myself and heal that inner child, which that was another like big transformational part of the work, was healing that inner part of that inner child part of me as well.
I love that. And then what were the results that started to take place in your life?
Within the first month, and I had just was still working on my love blocks. Like within that first like a few weeks, I got offered a job out of the blue at a local university. They just emailed me. They said, because I was an alumni there, and they said, hey, we need someone to take over our research labs to help teach some of like the pre-medical students. We thought of you. Can you please come? And I was like, okay,
I want
sure.
you to explain why that's so significant, because when we talked, there was a thing about money and not control. Okay.
Right. And so also too, just, and I don't want to keep like bringing it up, I just think it is important just within the context, is that within the background as well, women were not allowed to have control of the money whatsoever in how I was growing up. So also, so the women would always receive like a monthly or weekly allowance just to buy groceries and things. And so I still kind of had that in my head, and I had such fear around money. Like, oh my gosh, I don't have enough. I don't have any for myself. And I just had so much fear of being a stay-at-home mom. Even though my husband has a good job and anything I kind of asked for, he's like, okay, yeah, sure, I don't care, just take it. But still, that fear was like, he's gonna dump me on the street. Like I'm gonna be screwed over. Like that fear was just always channeled into me. I had a solid prenup even for our marriage. Like, you have to pay for my education, you have to pay for this, you have to do this. Like I went into it with a lawyer, and he's like, okay. I respect. I respect.
He really loved you, honey.
Yeah, I know. Like I respect the game. But he's also financial. So he's like, oh, I respect it. Okay. And so, because I was working on my PhD in biomedical science when I got pregnant, and then I had to resign. And so I was like, I gave up my career. Like there's these things that I need to do in order for me to feel safe. But there was still a lot of fear around money, obviously. But then, so I had that job offered to me. They want me to come back and teach again. I'm like, I don't know, these students, this was something. I don't know if I want to go back and teach. Maybe my heart's calling me to something else. I love the students, but I'm like, you're spilling dangerous bacteria like on the ground, and they're like, do I touch it? Like, don't touch it.
Right.
What are you doing?
Did you take the job?
Oh yeah, I took the job. Yeah, I took the job and I worked, and the students loved me, and it worked out really well. They want me to come back and teach again, but there's some other things. I'm getting my master's finished up in the next couple of months. And I said, let me finish that up. Yes, I said, let me get that finished up, and then I can go back and have continuity of teaching the classes and the labs. So I have a little bit more say over what goes on. And they said, yeah, that's fine. We'll wait for you. No problem.
And here's the significance for people that are watching and listening. When you have love blocks, you most certainly will have money blocks,
Right.
because the energy of money and love are the same.
Sure. 100%. And what's funny too is that then, and I would argue fairly early into the program as well, I was like kind of manifesting money. And then my husband was coming home and he's like, I'm getting all these bonuses. So we were just getting thousands upon thousands of dollars of bonuses. And I'm like, I am a goddess. So you
I
just
don't know why you guys think
me.
but do you see what I'm saying when I say
I
like,
was like,
open up the floodgates?
I know. And so if I said to the love coach on one of the meetings, I'm like, listen, this is nice and all, but I don't know if I should be sharing it with him. And she's like, you need to get in your mind that you're kind of one unit. Like, it's also your money as well. I'm like, I wanted to go to him. Why is it like, I mean, yeah, sure, I get it, but still. She's like, okay, we need to work with that.
Right,
Okay.
right.
But I'm like, I love lot, but still, I'm like, I'm a manifesting goddess. Like literally, like his time got cut down from work where he only has to work like 2 weeks out of a month and he got with full salary plus multiple bonuses because I was wanting him to spend more time at home. Because our daughter didn't say the word dad until she was 2 because he was gone so off. He was gone so much.
Yeah.
And so that was a big concern. I'm like, look, with our in terms of our relationships, that's something that really needs to be worked on.
So
and
how did your relationship start to transform
so he was like, I can tell that you trust me a lot more. Our communication got so much better as well because I felt empowered to speak up for myself. And he said to me, he's like, I'm so happier. He goes, that you're so much happier. He goes, you're so much more confident. He goes, that makes me so happy because he goes, I could tell that you're always really afraid to say things to me. And he goes, that made me feel bad, but I didn't know how to help you. And I said, no, I say for what I want now. Give me money. Give me jewels. I am not printing off the paper. My wrists are broken. And
that
so he's
part,
like,
yes.
that part. And he was so then he's like, I have to print off your paper. I'm like, yeah, even at work, I make all the other old professors like print off my papers. And I was so sad one day. I went in there and no one was in there, and I had to print off my papers by myself. And then the love coach, and I said this to her, she's like, okay, maybe we're getting too much in the water phase of feminine energy. Like you can't print out your own papers sometimes.
Right,
like,
right.
Oh, what a burden.
Like as if.
As if. I am a delicate goddess. I know.
Right.
So,
right. But I'm loving the broke wrist. Like I taught you guys, like
yes,
you have that broke wrist.
No,
now, how did your relationship with family change or friendships? Did you notice any difference?
You know what's interesting is that I always had a very easy time making female friendships my whole life. Like, because I was afraid of men. So women were my safe support. They were my safe network. And so it was very easy for me to make female friendships. It was interesting. A lot of those friendships started falling off though when I started going through the program. And then the friendships started, because the few friendships that I had that were far more functional became much more deeper, more vulnerable. But then these other like random friendships kind of fell off. And at first I was concerned about that, but then I'm like, no, I think this is just simply, I'm being aligned better to what I need to do. I'm being aligned at a much higher level, because when I look back, I could see those friendships of where we were all in a very negative space and they wanted for me to keep participating in that kind of depressed negative space as well. And for me to assist them in that. And I was like, no, this is not, you got to make choices as well to not align yourself with that anymore. Like I did it and I had like a much rougher life. I'm gonna pull out that card.
Right.
So you didn't like pull yourself out too. Like, come on. And so I could see then that the women who I really begun to go deeper with and connect with were the ones that were also really motivated to heal their traumas, working on their triggers, whether in parenthood, motherhood, their careers, in this very spherical aspect of their lives as well. And so that's what's like, okay, wow, that's like really amazing. In terms of my family, most of my family at this point has kind of passed on, but the few family members that I have, I can tell that I'm much better at setting boundaries with them, and not in a mean, unkind way at all. But this was huge for me to be able to have that level of assertiveness. Like, hey, you know what? I love you, but this cannot continue in this way. Like, I'll help you and I support you, but if you're unhappy and saying unkind things, that can't happen. Like, we have to communicate and work through this better than what's going on. And so sometimes they'll back up, but then they'll come back and I'm like, okay, I'm still here, but this is the way it's going to be from now on.
So. I love that. I love it. So tell me, what would you say to women who are watching you and watching this and that are on the fence with making a decision to choose themselves and to get into Boss Diva? What would you say to them?
I would say to them, realistically, as women, from whatever background or culture you come from, whether religious background, secular background, whatever your culture, women are taught really bad information in general, whether you're dating, relationships, handling money. You think that you're going to find this information out as you get older, and you really don't, because there's just a lot of gibber gabber of women repeating bad stuff to you, where I'm like the cat hitting its paw now. Stop it, no. So, no, those memes with the cat,
right.
cat hitting. And so you're not going to find it out. And so I'm just begging you, please If you're planning on getting married or going to a romantic relationship at all, which 99% of women in whatever form are wanting to do that, please just do the programs and save yourself the heartache. Not even just, you're not even thinking about money, just in terms of the heartache of picking the correct partner, like thinking about the partner that you want to have for your kids, who's going to be the parent for your kids, who's going to support you, who's going to help you in the long run, like who you can build finances with in the long term, of invest with emotionally, spiritually, mentally, etc., all these things. And no one tells you that, whether the church or secular society. You don't get that. And so, but you do get that here. And so I would just say, look, I know it's new and this might be something you kind of randomly came across, but just go ahead and take the jump and do it to set yourself up for future success. And preferably do this as young as possible. Before,
right, as young as possible.
But if you're older, that's fine though. There's no time limit on anything. Obviously, I don't want to say that,
right.
But there's no time limit on any of it. But just go ahead and make that leap and do that.
Is it worth the investment?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, absolutely, it's worth the investment.
How is it different than all the books you read, any other programs you've done? How was Boss Diva different from that? Because now we're merging, so we're not going to have Diva University anymore. It's just going to be everybody under the roof of Boss Diva, which you kind of got a version of that because you were getting the support of the coaches and you were getting that kind of environment.
Yes,
so
I had all of that.
How is that different to help you to transform the way you did and to accomplish your goals?
Because the wonderful thing about BDU is that you're not just having one section. It's not just head. Because I can read and memorize things all day. And I think most women, most people can. You have to have a multi-structural framework in order to heal. You need to have accountability people that are also in the trenches with you working through this. You need to have coaches that can say, okay, hey, that's not really right. We need to change that. No, that's not a good thought. Stop it. Because even things that I was like going through DVU, I would misinterpret it in ways because of my past programming. And they would say, like, as I mentioned earlier about the feminine energy and the rules, and the coaches would go, no. So you need to have guidance as you're going along through it, because it's really easy to misinterpret and do things weirdly. So you want to have the coaches, the journaling, the meditations, like there's just so many things that you need to have that immersive experience to heal. Because if you think about it, your life has been an immersive experience and so much dysfunction. And you need to have an equal reaction to that in order to remove it and start fresh.
I love that. I need you to join my marketing team. Like,
I know.
You just said it so perfectly. I love that. What do you think your life would look like now if you hadn't done Boss Diva University?
Oh, girl. I don't know. Like, I mean, in one of my meltdowns, I'm like, I'm going to leave my family and become a dog walker in St. Louis. So I could be walking Chihuahuas right now in downtown St. Louis. So, that could be me right now.
You could have been a dog walker after leaving your baby girl and your husband.
Well, she'd come. She could walk the little ones. That's how I was at that point. Like, I was like crazy point.
Yes. How do you feel about that? Like, knowing that you almost just gave it all up. And there's so many women that come to me like, I'm divorcing my husband. And I'm like, don't make one move.
Yeah. Just wait. And I get it, because you're so desperate. You're like, you know what? Maybe it's desperate times call for desperate situations. Maybe I just have to go rogue. And that's what we're gonna do.
But in following up on that, did you notice how you started to change and heal? How your husband started to even rise higher to meet you
100%.
and make you even happier?
100%. 100%. And I'm not saying there isn't marriages too, where as you heal and rise up, you're like, oh, this is actually pretty abusive. I need to get out.
Exactly.
And that, I'm sure there's also many other situations like that. In my particular case, it was that I was stuck in my own trauma. He was kind of stuck over here, and one of us had a break. And for me, I felt like, you know what? I am the one that's being called to break these generational patterns with my family. And so, I mean, I don't love being the chosen one. I feel like Frodo, like, me? Why me? Could my mom have done this? She could have did the ring.
Right.
But okay, you know what? It is what it is. And so I'm like, no, I'm changing this. So my daughter's not going to have these same bad patterns with men. And so we are changing this for my marriage and I can see even too where even my great aunt came and she said, yeah, and she was crying one day. And I came out, I'm like, what's wrong with you? Why are you crying? And she's like, she goes, your husband was so gentle with your daughter of showing her how to put on a sock. And he was just so loving with her. And I was like, well, this is how you do it, da, da, da. And he goes, no woman in our family has had that experience of a man and fully embracing and like serving and stepping into that role with the family. And she's like, I never have seen that before. And she was just bawling. And she's like 67. Oh. And so I'm like, this is the change.
Absolutely.
You want to have and you want to see. And so that's why I have so much hope for the future, like for my daughter, and I'm hoping for the other like younger kids in our family as well. Where all of this the dysfunction will stop. We're done. We're not doing it anymore.
Right. And it's so funny when people find me, it's like I speak to those who have been called.
Yeah.
They are the chosen one that end up saying, yes, I'm doing this. Am I scared? Yes.
Right.
Am I not used to investing in myself? Yes. But I'm answering this call, and how they're able to energetically break that pattern, that energetic pattern up and down the bloodline that makes way for their children to experience something better and experience something different. And I commend women like you who have the courage, because it takes courage and it takes wisdom, because you have so many women out there that are like out in the wilderness, right? And they're I'm working on myself.
Right, of course. Right.
Collecting information, but they're going nowhere. And they come to me like, Shay, I've done so much work. This is so frustrating. I've done so much work. And I'm like, you could run on a treadmill for hours and be still in the same spot.
Right.
So you've developed a muscle, that's good, but now let's get you the proper direction that gets you the results. So what would be your final words that you would say to that woman that needs to hear your voice in your story in order to choose herself? What would you say?
I would say, I understand that you're desperate. I understand that you feel like everything has probably gone wrong up in your life before, and that you feel like you make bad choices, and this might be another bad choice. And that's completely understandable to have that fear, but you can do hard things. And this is another hard thing that will actually be transformational and is a good choice, even if it feels really scary right now. And that's what I would say. So please just go ahead and do that. Not for anybody else. Like, this is not even focusing on your ancestors, because I'm like, some of y'all made your own choices too. Like, focus on for you. I mean, I'm trying to help you, but like, but so also for yourself, because you are worth just as much as everybody else around you. And so just go ahead and make that investment.
I love that. Would you say that Boss Diva University helped you to save your marriage as well?
Oh, absolutely. 100%. Again, I'm not a dog walker in St. Louis. No, nothing against dog walkers in St. Louis. Like, it's a wonderful job. That's why I was looking at it. Like,
right.
So no shade. Like, please do not take this.
But that's not your calling. That is not what you're supposed to do. Right. Not right now.
My daughter was not online with that when I was bringing up the line. So.
Sarah, I have so enjoyed you, baby. I'm giving you like the biggest virtual hug.
Thank you. I will take
so
it.
freaking proud of you. I'm proud of
you so much.
And I'm happy for you. And please keep sharing your story. Like, drop that picture of you and your happy family in the group chat. And I love you, baby. God bless you. And thank you so much for joining us. And beautiful divas, that has been another episode of Love on Command. And I will see you again next Tuesday. Have a beautiful day. Bye, divas.